Steve, have we seen the last of A.J. Brown in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform? Is this the last of A.J. Brown in South Philadelphia? I'm not sure because we haven't heard from A.J. Brown. We'll see if we see him, because he did not speak to the media after the game. He did not speak to the media after locker cleanout. We actually, in terms of the media, have not heard from A.J. Brown for over a month.
I see all of the stuff that people are saying. People talking about A.J. Brown let the team down. He's the cancer of the team. He's this. And I don't believe any of that.
Okay.
I don't think it's fair to put some of the things that have transpired with the Philadelphia Eagles offensively on A.J. Brown. Right? People are really throwing A.J. Brown on the sword as if everything that is wrong with the Philadelphia Eagles starts and stops with him. Now, I thought it was extremely interesting when I saw Nick Sirianni running down the sideline, right? Running down the sideline, talking about get that F off the field. But I initially thought he was saying something else, but he's get off the field because they're going to punt. But here's the thing. In the heat of the moment, we talked about this. Mm-hmm. You got to know who you're talking to.
What do you mean?
He just dropped that pass.
Oh, yeah, I get what you're saying. The context of the situation, of the moment.
In the context of the situation, he just dropped that pass, meaning he let his team down. Mm-hmm. And now the head coach, in front of everybody, is yelling at him. He's not yelling, catch the ball. He kind of get the F off is like a coach saying, catch the effing ball. Here's my issue with that. A.J. Brown has some drops. He obviously, I've been there where, man, you're having a tough day and you can't get out of your own head. Mm-hmm. That happens. Mm-hmm. I've watched other wide receivers have one drop and then go, and I'm like, he's done. Stick a fork in him.
That's something you always look for, Steve, and you always tell me
yes.
That. How do you respond after a bad play, bad series?
Yes.
How do you come back the next series? How do you come back? I know that's something
yes.
you always keep your eye on receivers for.
I love watching that because I don't have to speak with you. But if I watch you in your line of work, and I've done this line of work, and I've had those mental lapses, I've had those angry thoughts, and I'm like, I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm crazy as a Betsy bug. That's what my grandma used to say. I'm crazy as a Betsy bug. I go 0 to 100.
Okay.
But what people don't really know about me is I'm a reactor / response. I don't want drama with people. I love just to sit in my little bubble of Smittyville.
Yeah.
And kind of record at the house with my boys, watch film, and go be dad.
Smittyville's a great place. I've been a couple times. It's wonderful.
Yes. And you'll be back soon.
It's a good hang. It's a good hang.
And so I'm just struggling with, you going to tell A.J. Brown after a drop to get off the effing field. Where's that energy when you had pedestrian-like offensive plays the last couple of weeks? You ain't came with that same damn energy.
Here's something interesting, Steve. I wanted to ask you about this.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Sirianni, and I just thought of this while you were saying it, he played wide receiver in college. The most of his career before being a head coach has been as a what? Receiver coach.
Wide receiver coach. Yeah.
So it is interesting because he should know the makeup of the position, of that moment, of the players that play the position, and all of that goes with it within that moment. Do you get what I'm saying? It's not like he has no experience with receivers and how they're wired in that sense. No?
You should, but you got to understand, when things are starting to fall apart,
You're saying he knows.
People start doing things and getting outside of themselves. You know that I say it, bro. We always when we say pressure, a lot of people love to say diamonds. But you got to talk about that damn basement that's about to be flooded because of that pressure in those pipes.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here watching it. I'm sitting there watching it. I'm watching it develop, and everybody like, my boy RC, what he said, right? And the biggest problem, though, that I feel that has happened with the Philadelphia Eagles offense over the last couple of years is, I'm not even going to talk about the quarterback position. Here's what I'm going to talk about. You had Brian Johnson, offense coordinator. He was let go because
this year felt exactly like that year, by the way.
Okay, hold on. He didn't know what he was doing. He was young. And then, what's his name? Kellen Moore. He was told in the beginning, same thing. Oh, Kellen don't know what he's doing. Man, I keep noticing there's a trend, but the common denominator keeps getting a hall pass. The guy who touches the ball every play.
Yeah. So I'll say this with the pressure, and I think you made a really good point. I think Nick Sirianni is under tremendous amount of pressure, mainly because of the revolving door at offensive coordinator, because of his relationship with Kevin Petula, because he has to know that this is also his offense that they've been running for these 5 years. This year was the least efficient and least productive season of this offense in the 5 years Nick Sirianni's been there. I also understand that Sirianni is under a lot of pressure because of the city he coaches in. He literally, Steve, has the best winning percentage of any head coach currently coaching in the NFL. Yet he's constantly having to fight for his job. It's kind of fascinating. In 5 years, he's been to 2 Super Bowls and won 1. I think he's done a pretty decent job.
I think he has too.
Coaching this football team, yet for some reason he is under constant pressure because of, you're right, the entire situation that this thing revolves around. And it was funny because I was texting with an offensive coordinator while the Eagles were playing. He's out of the postseason. And I texted him and I go, is Jalen Hurts good? Just like that open-ended, just to see what he said. And he just wrote, no, period.
We can go back to our episode where I said, is Jalen the new Russell Wilson?
I thought that was a fascinating comparison. You know why? Because talking to this offensive coordinator...
Do tell, sir.
Yeah, I know you're going to just pat Steve on the back for that one, because I did think that was an outstanding comparison. Because what has changed, and we'll go through this, and why there are a lot of eyeballs on this entire offense. Did it underperform this year? Yeah. Was the offensive line what we're used to seeing in Philadelphia? No. Lane Johnson plays in that game. They probably win by 10.
It's a different.
Lie. Yep. They probably run behind him. He's one of the best players to ever play on the offensive line in the history of this game.
Great dude.
Oh, outstanding dude. They would have ran Saquon behind him repeatedly. He's just as good as a run blocker as he is in a pass protector. But the line as a whole was beat up, wasn't the way they usually are. They didn't run the football the way they usually run it. Remember how many touches that Saquon Barkley had last year? Nobody's been able to really... Yeah, it's just it was just there's a lot of different things that were going on. But the part that keeps getting brought up to me is Jalen's not running the football. And if he doesn't run the football, that changes the way defenses play against it. And it makes it harder for a guy that also struggles in a variety of aspects of playing just pocket quarterback play. And when I talked to this offensive coordinator, he literally told me everybody wanted Kellen Moore to come in last year and run Kellen's offense. And then everybody got mad that Kellen wasn't running Kellen's offense and it looked the same. He was like, why do you think it looked the same? He was running what Jalen Hurts can run. I thought Kellen Moore did a great job last year. They won the Super Bowl. That's what great coaching does when you have a player that does have talent, does have skill, does have a lot of strengths to their game, but also has certain glaring weaknesses. Kellen coached around those and found ways for the offense to be productive.
And what you're saying is what we talk about. We got the playoffs going on, Super Bowls right behind that, and then where we get down and dirty, where we do what we do, baby, is the draft. And what we talk about is where does a guy go? Where you go matters, and how that coach helps or hurts you. And what you just said about Kellen Moore is a good coach. Look what he's doing in New Orleans.
Oh,
He tried his best
I think they
with
found their
Rattler
guy.
to get him to get him to going. And they said, look, all Shuck is bowling.
They might have found their guy.
And they found their guy. But he was working with him. And so I'm not beating around the bush. I'm just gonna say it the way my football mind sees it is Kellen Moore did a really good job, like any other coach is supposed to do, which is you hide the deficiencies of your player and you do not expose them. And so he did not want to force Jalen Hurts to play a style of football that is not a plus for him.
What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house, it's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action, so when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the US, download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm.
I don't like the fact that how everybody's trying to lay AJ Brown out to the pasture for everybody to kind of feast off of him, as if he was the guy covering Christian McCaffrey running that wheel route.
You know what that play was, Steve? It's good play calling.
Yeah.
Real quick, Kyle Shanahan is in his bag this year.
He was in his bag.
I want to ask you this. Because we're talking about the offense, and we're mainly focusing on A.J. Brown, I wanted to put this out there. The dude has gone over 1,000 each of the last 4 seasons. There are 5 guys in the NFL that have done that. It's him, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Justin Jefferson. That's it. No player in Philadelphia Eagles history has 4 seasons of 1,000 yards. He's done it 4 straight. I think we do have to remember this is one of the best receivers in football. Now, everybody,
man, he's is a hell of a receiver, and I think people are so infatuated with the clickbait and trashing him that they've forgotten how much he brings to that offense. What he does, how the defensive coordinators don't rest at night, because it's not that he could just run past you. He can also out-muscle the corner.
Okay, so
at the point of attack, he is so active with his hands and has such a great understanding of how to get around and at times through the defender. And that is something you learn how to do. And A.J. Brown has mastered his craft. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. There's a lot of football players who have 1,000 yards, 1,500 yards right now in the NFL, playing in the playoffs, not playing in the playoffs, that if we would take the cameras off, shut it down, and I get in on the chalkboard or on the film and ask them to, hey man, explain this to me. What's the coverage? You'd be surprised how many of them have no idea how or what to do. So there is a level of self-starting and taking ownership in your job. And I know for a fact, because I do know AJ, he takes ownership in his job. He takes his job seriously. He takes it, maybe for the average fan, he maybe takes it too much.
Hence why there's some of that frustration, Steve. I mean, I
Yes.
think he does see, and he said this, if you remember, mid-season, he's like, we can't keep putting a Band-Aid over this. Like, he knew, because he's putting in the work. He also is looking around going, wait a minute, this offense isn't working, and we have me, Devontae Smith, who I know you're a huge fan of, Dallas Goedert.
The Slim Reaper.
The Slim Reaper. Dallas Goedert, who had an outstanding season, and Saquon Barkley. And this, talent offense.
Who still got 1,000 yards,
still got 1,000
even
yards.
with that slow start, and at times not getting the football at all.
Yeah. So it seems like, I mean, with the work he's put in, understanding the frustration. What I wanted to ask you was, when we're looking at this offense and the way it has worked, and I think I've said on here a couple of times where there's guys I know around the league that have studied it and they've been like, the best part about this offense, no, it's not complicated. It's actually pretty simple. They really focus on guys winning their one-on-ones across the board, right, Steve?
And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with being simple.
No, there isn't. You can win. I've talked to a number of quarterbacks. You can win with simple. The Eagles have won with simple a lot. I mentioned Nick Sirianni's winning percentage. But what I'm asking you is, do you feel like within this offense, when you watch it, there is a reliance for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith to, hey, guys, you just got to win the one-on-one. The scheme's not getting you as open as you personally, with your talent, have to win the one-on-one. Is that where it stands a lot of routes in Philadelphia?
I don't know the actual percentage number right at this moment, but just off the top of my head, as you were talking, I'm going, okay. The last couple of years, obviously, when they went to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl, they were getting a lot of separation.
Mm-hmm.
I think this year it's a significant drop from what they had in the years past compared to this year. But what I was hearing is, see, when you have simple and you need a play in desperate, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of space between these two hands.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to make adjustments and do things differently. And you can't go with, let's just run a go route.
Yeah. Come on, AJ.
That's not an answer.
When I mention the guys that have all had over 1,000 each of the last 4 seasons, Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, Jared Goff. Now, Justin Jefferson's played with a variety of quarterbacks, but those are the quarterbacks these guys are playing with. Those are some of the best throwers of the football that we have in this league, Steve, when it comes to Dak or Joe Burrow or Jared Goff. There's a lot on their
They have a lot of different those guys. Look, in comparison, as a receiver, I'm compared just that list of people you're saying.
Because again, it's Jamar, CD, Amon-Ra St.
No,
Brown,
I'm talking about the quarterbacks.
I mentioned the quarterbacks those guys are playing with.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just kind of tell you, I'm not getting into the who's the best quarterback, who's the top 10, who's a game manager, who's a playmaker. I'm not getting into that. But here's what I would tell you. Whether it's Jalen, Josh, Lamar, Joe, Goff, Jared Goff, who else? Mahomes. Each one of those guys has a very different skill set, and they spin the ball differently. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying they spin it worse or better. They just spin the ball differently.
Yeah.
And as they spin the ball differently, that's what separates them. And you can't put this guy with this guy who lacks the stats but just has a Super Bowl win or playoff win or has, right, like this stat has been going on now that the Carolina Panthers were not in there. This stat has been going on that Josh Allen and Bryce Young have the most one-possession, game-winning drives so far, which is like 12 or 13.
I don't know. Bryce has won since 2023.
Yeah, right?
Bryce,
so, like,
Bryce
I'm saying that they keep putting that up there. You can always find stats. Mm-hmm. I work for the network. I work in sports. I always love when they show a stat. Since 2020, but if you go 2019, that stat no longer is relevant.
Well, Steve, that stat doesn't help us anymore.
No,
we need
it
it to
does.
be 2020.
Yes. If it's 2020,
prove
he's
our
in
point.
the top 5. If it's 2020, he's in the top 5. If we do, you doing the last 4 years, he's in the top 5. Mm-hmm. But if you do the 5th or 6th year, he's in the bottom 15. Mm-hmm. That's how much dates and times can manipulate and increase or decrease someone's statistical value. Mm-hmm. But a guy like Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, but he wasn't as efficient as he is now and good when he was.
He's got a long enough sample size now here in Detroit that you just know eye test can play.
Correct. But my point is, these guys, it doesn't matter who the wide receiver is. Matthew Stafford, they're throwing dimes. There's not a question that they can make every throw. I think what has been exposed a little bit is you have one of the best wide receivers in the game with the most well-rounded route tree, but your quarterback cannot efficiently get him the football, and at the most critical time, everything that has been a problem in his offense reared his ugly head in a playoff game in front of their fans. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened.
All right, so to close this out, where do we go from here? There are people in that building right now that I've talked to, Steve, that think, yes, there's a chance A.J. Brown gets traded. There's a financial aspect of it, and we know how well Howie Roseman works in terms of what they need to do in terms of their salary cap. And they have a lot of big ticket items coming up, whether it's Jalen Carter this year or Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell next year, 2 years down the road essentially, that they got to get these deals done. And where are they at financially? You would have a $43.5 million dead cap hit if you trade A.J. Brown because of the way the contract is structured. So he's due like $29 million guaranteed salary in 2026. So you would be essentially taking a $20 million cap bath by not having your best receiver, you know what I mean, in terms of how the dead cap money would work. That complicates trading him, certainly. It really does. Now you have to figure out if you can work as an offense without him and within the financial constraints of where it's at. I do believe what they may have to lean on this offseason, Steve, is maybe the biggest strength that Nick Sirianni has, is managing people. And that might be what he has to do between a variety of people on that offense if they feel like it's not worth eating that money, that it's better off as a team to try to work their way through it.
Here's how they're going to get the trade. Here's how they're going to get the trade done. You ready? Mm-hmm. I believe they're going to trade him, and they're going to have to eat some of the cost, and the new team is going to eat some of the cost. And that's how they can kind of lighten the dead cap load a little bit. Mm-hmm. But Nick Sirianni is a great manager. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that he isn't. But what you did to your number one wide receiver and the stage and the position you put him in, man, it's hard for players to let that slide.
You know who let it slide? Because he's done it a million times? It was the guy we talked about who was calling the game. Brady had no problem with it because Brady did that to coaches repeatedly on the sideline. He was screaming at Bill O'Brien or Josh McDaniel or whatever. When he saw it, he was like, there it is. Just a little working through the game.
Yeah. Right. Here's what I would tell you though, mm-hmm. that I thought was pretty interesting. Lastly, people talking about he left without talking to the media. Mm-hmm. And what do fans always say when a guy who's very frustrated and speaks from his emotions fresh off after a loss? Man, they should have never let him talk. And now you got a young man who already knows his demeanor and knows his own bend. Yeah, this ain't going to go well if I speak.
Mm-hmm.
So let me go ahead and keep my mouth closed. As the great philosopher Bambi's mom said to Thumper, if you don't have nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all. Right? And people are saying, oh, see, there he goes. If he was a turd, he wouldn't have dapped up all his boys after the game. But when you do that, you're saying, man, I'm not going to let this outcome change. You still my dog. And it was an honor to go out there and try to win this game with you. We tried our best, didn't work, but man, love you, bro. Like that's important. And people are making it seem like because he dapped up his teammates and left without speaking to the media, that he's a cancer. It's a no-win situation. And then you got to clean out your locker. And I hate to clean out my locker because they give you a damn trash bag.
And you had 2 lockers.
Yes.
Certain people get 2 lockers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get a trash bag full of stuff. I never took any of the trash. First of all, I ain't going nowhere unless I want to go. And this happened to me. And when I did leave, I'm only taking a few things. Y'all can keep the other stuff because I ain't going to be wearing it. I'm going to a different team.